Millionaire dates new girlfriend. 7 months after divorce, but is shocked to see ex-wife pregnant working as a cashier. What happens next is unimaginable. Tell us in the comments what makes a story really exciting for you. And of course, subscribe to the channel. The sound of the luxury car engine silenced as Aaron Smith parked in front of the small corner market. The city was enveloped in a cool breeze, and the yellowed lights of the sign illuminated the wet sidewalk. He looked to the side, where Ella Brown, his new girlfriend, was touching up her lipstick in the rearview mirror. "I'll buy the wine, I won't be long," he said while unbuckling his seatbelt. Ella nodded with a distracted smile. She didn't care much for details like that, as long as the night ended in an elegant restaurant with an expensive bottle of wine. Everything was perfect for her. As he pushed the glass door of the market, Aaron was greeted by the familiar smell of coffee and cleaning products. He walked to the beverage shelf, picked up a red wine, and headed to the checkout. That's when he saw her. The shock froze his muscles. Behind the counter, mechanically typing in the product codes, was Amelia Davis, his ex-wife, pregnant. The impact of the scene was like a blow to the chest. The light blue uniform slightly highlighted her round belly. Her face, once lit up by spontaneous smiles, now bore a tired, exhausted expression. Her hair, which was always neatly done, was tied in a simple bun, with a few loose strands falling. On her forehead, time seemed to slow down. The buzz of the other customers faded away, and all that remained was the sound of the scanner beeping with each registered product. Aaron felt his eyes burn. 7 months ago he had signed the divorce papers, believing he would move on without looking back. But now, there she was, and the sight cut through him like a sharp blade. He couldn't move. What hit him the hardest was not just seeing her there, but the fact that she was pregnant. By whom? He tried to swallow the lump in his throat, but his voice came out weaker than he intended. "Amelia?" She raised her eyes. The moment of recognition was almost imperceptible, but Aaron saw when her gaze hardened. Her face showed no surprise or anger, just a chilling coldness. "Good evening, sir. Is it debit or credit?" The formality of her response hit him like a punch. He opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. Amelia maintained her professional expression. "Anything else?" she asked while quickly and precisely packaging the wine. He wanted to ask, wanted to know. How was she? How far along was the pregnancy? Who was Millionaire dates new girlfriend 7 months after divorce, but is shocked to see ex-wife pregnant working as a cashier? What a father. But none of that seemed appropriate at the moment. "No, just this," he murmured. She simply nodded, completed the transaction, and pushed the bag towards him. "Have a good evening. Next." And then Aaron was pushed back to reality when another customer took his place. He left the market still dazed. Ella looked at him with curiosity as he got into the car. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." He didn't answer immediately. His mind was still trapped in the image of Amelia, in the way her slightly rounded belly pressed against the fabric of the uniform. "Nothing," he lied. But inside him something was starting to crumble. That night, even surrounded by the luxury of the restaurant and the occasional laughter of Ella, Aaron could barely hear or see anything. All he could visualize was Amelia, pregnant, working behind a supermarket counter. And the only thing echoing in his mind was the question he didn't have the courage to ask. That child, was it his? The fine rain dripped down the panoramic window of Aaron Smith's luxurious penthouse. He was sitting on the sofa, his elbows resting on his knees, staring at the illuminated city without really seeing it. Ella Brown was sleeping in the next room, indifferent to the storm that consumed him from within. He couldn't forget the image of Amelia Davis, pregnant, working as a cashier. That was impossible, or was it? Aaron ran his hands over his face, trying to organize his thoughts. If that child were his, it meant that Amelia was pregnant when they divorced. But why didn't she say anything? Why was she there, alone, facing difficulties when he had all the resources to help her? A wave of guilt hit him hard. During their marriage, he always prioritized work, long meetings, international trips, nights and more nights dedicated to the expansion of his company. Amelia at first understood. She said she was proud of his ambition. But over time, the smiles faded. Conversations turned into arguments. Candlelit dinners became a table set for one. He knew he lost her even before the divorce. But if that baby were his, the possibility made him stand up abruptly. He grabbed his phone and looked for Amelia's contact. The number was still saved, but the last time they exchanged messages was months ago, when they settled the final details of the separation. If he called, would she answer? He stared at the screen for long seconds before hitting the call button. His heart raced. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then the call dropped. She ignored him. He felt his chest tighten. Did that mean something? Or was he just too desperate to find answers? The only certainty he had was that he wouldn't be able to sleep without knowing more. The next day, Aaron drove to the market where he saw her. He parked a little ways away, watching from inside the car. The simple facade and the flashing sign clashed completely with the world he was used to. Amelia arrived shortly after 7. She wore the same uniform as the previous night, her hair tied back, her hurried steps trying to escape the cold morning wind. He watched closely how she held her belly while walking, as if she were protecting something precious. And that caused a tightness in his chest that he hadn't expected to feel. He waited a few minutes before getting out of the car and entering the market. The place was emptier than the night before. He walked to the checkout, and when Amelia saw him, the same cold expression took over her face. "Are you following me now?" she asked bluntly. Aaron swallowed hard. "I need to talk to you." "We are talking. What do you want?" She was direct, impatient. He felt like he was stepping on glass shards. "The baby," he started, his voice lower. "Is it mine?" Amelia froze for a second, but then let out a disbelieving laugh, shaking her head. "Do you really have the nerve to ask me that?" "I need to know." She narrowed her eyes, crossing her arms. "Now you want to know? After all this time? After months without a single word? I didn't know." "You didn't know because you didn't want to know, Aaron. You were always too busy for anything other than your company. Do you think if I had told you it would have made a difference?" Her words were sharp and each one hit its target. Aaron felt the impact. "I would have helped." "Oh, sure," Amelia laughed without humor. "Just thrown money at the situation as always, because solving problems with money is the only thing you know how to do." Aaron frowned. "I'm not that kind of person." She stared at him, and her gaze made his stomach churn. "You've become that type of person." The silence that followed was deafening. "Just answer me, please." His voice came out almost a whisper. Amelia pressed her lips together. Taking a deep breath after a long moment, she replied, "Yes, Aaron, the baby is yours." And then, before he could react, she concluded, "But that doesn't change anything." Aaron felt as if the ground had vanished beneath his feet. Nothing changed? Did she really believe that? Or was it just a barrier to keep him away? Either way, one thing was certain: he couldn't just walk away now. Time seemed to slow around Aaron Smith as his mind tried to absorb the weight of those words. "Yes, Aaron, the baby is yours." He felt a chill run down his spine, as if he had taken a direct hit to the stomach. The months he spent without even imagining this possibility now weighed on his shoulders like an unbearable guilt. Amelia didn't look away. She was there, firm, as if she had prepared that answer long ago. But there was something beyond the coldness. In her expression, weariness, exhaustion. Aaron Smith wet his lips, trying to find the right words, but his voice came out almost weak. "Why didn't you tell me?" Amelia took a deep breath, crossing her arms over her belly, as if she wanted to protect herself from him. "Do you really need to ask?" "I do." She let out a dry laugh, without humor. "I didn't tell you because it wouldn't have made a difference." "How can you say that, Aaron?" She looked at him with a heavy gaze. "You were too busy to notice when I was no longer there. If I had told you, do you really think that would have changed anything?" Aaron opened his mouth but hesitated. Deep down, he knew Amelia was right. He remembered every time he failed to attend to her, every ignored message, every night he arrived too late to see her awake. For a long time, he lived believing that his priority was to secure their future. But in the end, what he really did was leave her behind. And now this truth crushed him. "You didn't have the right to decide that alone." His voice came out more firmly than he expected. Amelia narrowed her eyes. "Oh, so now you want to talk about rights? Where were mine when I was alone, waiting for a husband who never showed up? When I fell asleep and woke up not knowing if you would come home, or if work was more important than me?" Aaron closed his eyes for a moment, feeling her words pierce his chest like sharp knives. "I was wrong," she exhaled through her nose, as if she had heard that too many times already. "Yes, you were wrong. But now it doesn't matter anymore, Aaron." He felt his chest tighten. "This isn't fair." "Fair?" Amelia laughed, incredulous. "Fair would have been if you had cared earlier." The silence that followed was unbearable. Aaron felt his breath quicken, his heart pounding hard against his chest. For the first time in a long time, he didn't know what to do. "I want to be part of this baby's life," he finally said, looking her in the eyes. Amelia studied him for a moment. Something in her gaze wavered, perhaps a flicker of doubt, a crack in her resistance. But soon, the mask slid back into place. "If that's all you want, then you can talk to my lawyer." Aaron felt a bitter taste in his mouth. "I don't want this to be just about money." "Then prove it." That caught him off guard. "What?" "Prove it, Aaron." Amelia slightly tilted her head, as if challenging him. "Because I no longer trust your words." Aaron was speechless. Before he could say anything, the voice of an impatient client could be heard behind him. "Hey, can you speed it up? There are people in line." Aaron looked at Amelia one last time, but she was already looking away, returning to work. He felt a weight in his chest as he took a step back, allowing someone else to take his place at the counter. He left the store feeling smaller than ever. Aaron Smith's apartment felt larger and emptier than before. He sat in the living room, staring at the city through the panoramic glass. But all he could see was Amelia. All he could hear were her words, sharp as blades. "Prove it." He rested his elbows on his knees and ran his hands over his face, trying to order his thoughts. His life had always been built on numbers, deals, calculated strategies. Everything could be resolved with a well-drafted contract, a surefire investment, a rational decision. But that was not a business problem. It was something he didn't know how to solve. He picked up his phone and opened the contacts list. Amelia's number was still there. He slid his finger across the screen, hesitating before pressing the call button. The call rang once, twice, 3 times, and then dropped. She ignored him. The feeling of helplessness suffocated him. For the first time in years, Aaron realized that no amount of money in the world could fix what he had broken. If he wanted to be part of his child's life, he would have to change. For real. The night dragged on slowly, but Aaron Smith could not sleep. He paced back and forth in his penthouse, feeling like a complete stranger in his own life. The luxurious apartment, with its sophisticated designer furniture and works of art he barely remembered buying, suddenly felt empty, without purpose. Every step echoed in the silence of the place, reinforcing the loneliness he had refused to acknowledge until that moment. He grabbed a glass of whiskey, but upon bringing it to his lips, he felt a bitter taste that came not only from the drink. For the first time, it did not comfort him. He poured the liquid back into the glass and stared at his reflection in the window glass, watching the city that never slept. Prove. Amelia's word hammered in his mind. But how? How could he prove anything to someone who no longer believed in him? His first instinct was obvious. Money, power, solving everything with a phone call, a bank transfer, a contract. But he knew that was not enough. Amelia did not want him to simply throw money at the situation and disappear. She wanted something he wasn't sure he could give. Commitment, responsibility, presence. Aaron ran his hands through his hair, feeling more lost than ever. He had always believed he was in control of everything, his business, his decisions, his personal life. But now, for the first time, he realized that this control was an illusion. Amelia had already made her decision, and he would need to fight to change that. The next morning, Aaron made a decision. He drove to the market where Amelia worked, but did not go inside. He parked across the street and waited. The clock struck almost 8 in the morning when she came out, looking exhausted. She was wearing a tattered coat that partially covered her belly and walked slowly, clutching a brown envelope against her chest. Aaron furrowed his brow. She looked worried. Without thinking twice, he got out of the car and followed her on foot. Amelia turned the corner and entered a small, unassuming medical clinic. Aaron hesitated, but something inside him urged him to continue. He waited outside for nearly half an hour, his heart racing. When she finally came out, she was holding the same envelope, but now she seemed even more tense. Amelia! She stopped abruptly. Aaron noticed her expression hardened the moment she saw him. "What are you doing here?" she asked, suspiciously. "I wanted to talk to you." "You followed me. I was going to the market," he lied. Amelia scoffed, clearly impatient. "Are you really going to pretend this was a coincidence?" He hesitated, but he could not back down any longer. "Okay, I came because I wanted to know if you're okay." She laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "Now you care?" Aaron sighed, trying to hold back his frustration. "I know I took a long time, but I'm here now." Amelia stared at him for a long moment. "And what exactly do you want, Aaron?" He opened his mouth, but the answer did not come immediately. What did he want? He wanted to go back in time and do everything differently. He wanted to have paid attention when there was still time. He wanted to have been the husband she deserved. But now it was too late for that. "I want to be part of our child's life," he said finally. Amelia lowered her eyes to the envelope she was holding. Aaron noticed her hands trembled slightly. "Have you already decided this? Because this choice can't be just words. I have never been so sure of anything in my life." She lifted her eyes to him. Aaron noticed there was something different there. A hesitation, a fear. And then something unexpected happened. A tear silently rolled down Amelia's face. Aaron stood frozen. Throughout all the time they had been together, he had seen Amelia cry only a handful of times. She had always been strong, independent, someone who did not like to show weakness. But now she was there, standing on the sidewalk, crying quietly while holding that damn envelope. Amelia... She quickly wiped her face as if hating that he saw her that way. "Go away, Aaron." He furrowed his brow. "What's in that envelope?" She took a step back, holding the paper against her chest. "It's none of your business. If it's about the baby, it's my business." She took a deep breath, closing her eyes for a moment, as if trying to regain control. "It's tests." Aaron felt a chill run down his spine. "Any problem? I'm not going to talk about this with you here in the middle of the street. Then let's go somewhere. Let's sit down. Talk." She shook her head. I don't want your pity, Aaron. It's not pity. It's concern. She hesitated. For a brief moment, she seemed to want to believe him. But then, as if an alarm went off in her mind, her gaze shut down again. I need to go. Amelia, please. She turned her back and started walking quickly, but Aaron grabbed her arm. Amelia! She turned abruptly, her eyes filled with trapped tears. Do you want to know? Do you really? Yes. She took a deep breath, her lips trembling slightly. My baby might have a heart problem. Aaron felt the world spin. What? Amelia gripped the envelope tighter. The doctors are not sure yet, but there's a suspicion. And if it's true, he may need surgery as soon as he is born. Aaron opened and closed his mouth, speechless. Amelia took a deep breath, trying to hold back her emotion. And that's why I can't waste time with you. She turned and walked quickly away, leaving Aaron standing there, feeling as if he had just taken the biggest blow of his life. His child could be sick, and he hadn't even known until that moment. Reality hit him hard. He had spent months living his life normally, while Amelia faced all of this alone, and that was unacceptable. In that moment, he made a decision. He would stay and fight for his child, for Amelia, and for everything he had left behind. Insomnia tormented Aaron Smith that night. He tried to distract himself with work, tried to focus on numbers, contracts, spreadsheets, but nothing worked. His mind was caught on the image of Amelia Davis holding that envelope against her chest, her eyes shining with contained tears when she said that their baby might be born with a heart problem. He had never felt so powerless. He spent hours walking around the penthouse, feeling suffocated within his own space. The grandeur of the apartment, with its luxurious furnishings and state-of-the-art technology, had never felt so empty. How many times had he believed that success was all that mattered? How many times had he justified his absence by saying he was working for a better future? And now, what was the point of all that if he couldn't do anything for his own child? For the first time in a long time, Aaron Smith did not feel in control. The phone was on the coffee table, the screen lit up with a contact he hesitated to call, but deep down, he knew he needed a familiar voice. He took a deep breath before pressing the call button. The line rang a few times before a sleepy voice answered. Aaron? He swallowed hard. Hi, Mom. The silence on the other end was long. His mother couldn't remember the last time her son called without her needing to insist. Are you okay? Her voice carried a mixture of surprise and concern. Aaron Smith closed his eyes for a moment, feeling a knot tighten in his throat. I don't know. Another silence. But he felt that his mother already understood that something was wrong. Do you want to talk? She asked, with the patience of someone who knew him better than anyone. He took a deep breath. I think I've been a terrible husband. She didn't respond immediately. When she spoke, her voice was softer. And why are you thinking about that now? Aaron looked out the window, at the city shining below him. Because I found out that my ex-wife is pregnant with my child. This time the surprise from the other side was audible. Amelia is pregnant? Yes, and I just found out now. His mother sighed heavily. Aaron, I know, he interrupted her. I know I was wrong. I know I should have paid more attention to my marriage, but now it doesn't matter anymore because... He hesitated, swallowing hard. Because the baby could be born sick. The silence that followed was different, heavier. What does he have? They don't know for sure yet, but there's a suspicion of a heart problem. If confirmed, he might need surgery shortly after birth. His mother was quiet for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully before speaking. And what are you going to do? Aaron ran his hand over his face, feeling the weight of that question. I will be there. This time, I will be there. T. Next morning, Aaron Smith drove to the market where Amelia Davis worked. But he didn't go in. He parked across the street and waited. He wanted to see her, to know how she was doing. When Amelia appeared, the cold morning wind tousling a few strands of her hair that escaped from her messy bun, she wore a worn-out coat that covered part of her belly and held a thermos bottle against her body. Aaron noticed that she looked even more tired than the day before. Without thinking twice, he got out of the car and followed her on foot. Amelia turned the corner and entered a small medical clinic with a simple facade. Aaron stopped on the sidewalk, feeling a tightening in his chest. He stood there, waiting. It was almost 40 minutes before Amelia came out. She was holding the same envelope from the day before, but now she looked even more tense. Aaron could not prevent himself. "Amelia!" She stopped abruptly. Her body stiffened before she even turned around. When she did, her gaze was filled with exasperation. "What are you doing here? I wanted to talk to you." "Did you follow me?" He hesitated. "Yes." She huffed, clearly losing her patience. "You can't just show up in my life now and think you have the right to follow me around, Aaron. I know, but I'm worried." "Worried?" She let out a humorless laugh. "Now you're worried." Aaron felt his blood boil. "Do you think this doesn't mean anything to me?" Amelia crossed her arms. "You've never been around before. Why would it be different now?" He closed his eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath before responding. "Because I was wrong, and because I'm trying to fix this." She laughed again, but this time there was a hint of exhaustion in her laugh. "You can't fix everything with money, Aaron." He clenched his fists, feeling frustrated. "I know that." Amelia frowned, surprised by his raised voice. Aaron took a deep breath, trying to control himself. "I just want to be there. At the next exam." She blinked, surprised. "What?" "I want to go with you, to know what's going on." Amelia narrowed her eyes. "Since when do you care about medical exams?" "Since I found out that my child might be sick." She looked away, pressing the envelope against her chest. Aaron noticed that her hands were trembling. "Have you already decided that? Because that choice can't just be empty words." "I've never been so sure of anything in my life." Amelia lowered her head. Aaron noticed that her shoulders were trembling slightly, and then a silent tear rolled down her face. His chest tightened. "Amelia." She quickly wiped her face, as if she hated that he saw her like that. "My next exam is in 3 days." Aaron nodded, his heart racing. "Send me the address and the time. I will be there." She hesitated, as if she wanted to believe him but still couldn't. After a moment, she took out her phone and typed quickly. The ping of the message reached Aaron's phone seconds later. "If you disappoint me, I won't give you another chance." "I won't disappoint you." Amelia stared at him for a few more seconds before continuing on her way. Aaron stood still, feeling something different inside him. This time, he would not fail. In the following 3 days, Aaron Smith lived as if he were in suspension. With each passing minute, his anxiety grew, and he found himself checking his cell phone countless times, as if Amelia Davis's message could disappear at any moment. He was not a man who usually waited. He had always been in control, always the one who dictated the rules, who made the decisions. But now all he could do was wait for the day of the exam and hope that Amelia would not change her mind. Deep down, he knew it wasn't just about the baby, it was about trust, and he had lost hers long ago. On the morning of the exam, Aaron Smith woke up before the alarm even rang. He took a shower, put on a black dress shirt and a long coat. Not because he wanted to impress Amelia, but because he needed to feel prepared. The day seemed to carry a weight greater than any business meeting he had ever faced. He left home without having breakfast. His stomach was too twisted for that. When he arrived at the clinic, Amelia was already there. She was sitting on one of the reception benches, absent-mindedly fiddling with her cell phone. She wore a navy blue wool coat, and her hair was tied up in a simple bun. Even without makeup, even with dark circles betraying her tiredness, she was still the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. And for a moment, Aaron Smith felt fear. Fear that it might already be too late. He took a deep breath before approaching. "Good morning." Amelia looked up and stared at him for a few seconds. There was no surprise in her expression. Perhaps she really believed he would show up, but there was also no smile or relief, just a discreet nod of her head. "You came." "I said I would." She studied him for a few more seconds before looking back at her phone. "The doctor is late, but they will call me soon." Aaron sat down next to her. The silence between the two was heavy, filled with unspoken things. He wanted to ask how she was feeling, if she needed anything, but any attempt at closeness felt too forced, so he just waited. Minutes later, a nurse called Amelia's name. She stood up, grabbed her bag, and hesitated for a second before looking at Aaron. "Coming." The question was asked in a neutral tone, but to him it sounded like a test. He nodded and walked alongside her. The office was small and cozy. The doctor, a middle-aged man with round glasses, greeted Amelia with a gentle smile. "Good morning. Amelia, how are you?" "A little anxious," she admitted. Aaron felt his heart tighten. "Understandable," the doctor said, then looked at him. "And you must be the father." Aaron swallowed hard and nodded. "Yes." The doctor smiled politely before turning to Amelia. "Shall we begin?" Amelia nodded, lifting her shirt enough to expose her rounded belly. Aaron stood still, watching as the nurse spread gel over her skin, and the doctor glided the ultrasound device. And then the sound filled the room, a strong heartbeat, fast, precise. The baby's heart. Aaron held his breath. He didn't know what he expected to feel at that moment, but what came was something overwhelming. It wasn't just a sound, it was the heart of someone who was part of him, of someone he already loved, even without ever having seen. His chest tightened in a way he had never felt before, as if at that instant everything had changed forever. He looked at Amelia, who kept her eyes glued to the screen, and realized she was also emotional. The doctor smiled. "It's strong. That's good." Aaron let out a sigh he didn't even realize he was holding. "So, he is okay?" The doctor wiped the screen and made some adjustments. The baby's heartbeat still resonated throughout the room. "The beats are good, but we still need to monitor for a possible narrowing of the aortic valve. It's not definitive, but it requires follow-up." Amelia nodded, as if she already expected that answer. Aaron, on the other hand, felt the apprehension return. "What does that mean, exactly?" The doctor looked at him patiently. "If the suspicion is confirmed, it may be necessary to perform a procedure soon after birth, but let's not rush. There are still tests to be done, and it may resolve itself on its own." Aaron looked at the screen again. The baby moved slightly, as if responding to the conversation. And at that moment, he knew. No matter what happened, he would do whatever it took to ensure that baby had everything he needed. When the exam was over, Amelia wiped her belly and lowered her shirt. Aaron noticed she seemed a little relieved, but still worried. They left the office together, and when they reached the reception, Amelia finally broke the silence. "Thank you for coming." Aaron looked at her. There was something different in her tone, something less cold. He nodded. "I will be at all the others." She held his gaze for a moment, as if trying to decide whether to believe him or not. And, for the first time, Aaron felt that maybe there was a chance to do everything right, this time for real. Udi, that morning was etched in Aaron Smith in a way he didn't expect. The sound of the baby's heartbeat still echoed in his mind as he drove through the city, lost in thought. It wasn't just any noise. It was life. It was his son. And at that moment, Aaron knew there was no turning back. For years, he lived believing that money solved everything, that his absence could be compensated with expensive gifts, that his love could be measured by the comfort he provided. But now, none of that mattered. What mattered was being present, for real. He parked the car in front of the penthouse, but didn't get out immediately. He took out his cell phone and opened the message from Amelia with the details of the exam. She hadn't sent anything else after that. No words, no thanks beyond what she said in person, but that didn't discourage him. For the first time, he expected nothing in return. He picked up the phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in months. The call rang a few times before a male voice answered. "Aaron? Bernardo, I need a favor." The man on the other side laughed. "You never call without a reason, right? What is it this time?" "I need information about a clinic specialized in fetal cardiology. I want a trusted doctor, the best you have." Bernardo's carefree tone changed instantly. "What happened?" Aaron tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "My son may have a heart problem." The silence that followed was tense. "Damn, man. I want a second opinion. And if treatment is necessary, I want it to be the best possible. I'll look into it for you. I'll send you the contacts today." "Thank you." Aaron hung up and let out a long sigh. He wouldn't leave anything to chance. The next day, he went to the market in the late afternoon, knowing that Amelia would be on duty. She saw him as soon as he entered and sighed, already predicting that he wasn't there just to shop. "What is it now?" Aaron approached the checkout, ignoring her defensive tone. "I got a contact for a specialist. I want us to take the exams for a second opinion." Amelia blinked, surprised. "What?" "I want us to be sure we are doing everything right." She crossed her arms, analyzing him. "Aaron, this isn't something that can be solved with money." He kept his gaze firm. "I know that, but if there's a risk, I want to be sure we're doing everything we can." Amelia was silent for a moment, and Aaron knew he had touched on a sensitive point. She was scared. She was dealing with everything alone, and as much as she tried to push him away, he could see part of her wanted to accept that help. "Do you trust this doctor?" she finally asked. "Yes." She pressed her lips together, pondering. "All right, we can schedule." Aaron felt a silent relief, but he didn't show it. "I'll take care of that. I'll let you know the time." Amelia nodded, looking away. "Anything else?" He picked up a bag of candies from the shelf next to him. "Just this." She scanned the item and pushed the bag toward him. "Good night, Aaron." He took the bag, but before leaving he looked at her one last time. "Thank you." For a moment, he thought he saw her expression soften, but then Amelia looked away and the moment passed. The appointment with the specialist was scheduled for 2 days later. This time, Aaron picked up Amelia at home. She hesitated before getting into the car, as if she still wasn't used to the idea of him being there. "You didn't have to pick me up. I wanted to come." She sighed, closing the door. "You're acting strange." "What do you mean?" "Different, doing things you never did before." He gripped the steering wheel a little tighter. "People change. Some, yes, others, no." Aaron glanced at her quickly before focusing on the road. "You'll have to decide which group I fit into." Amelia looked away to the window, and neither of them said anything more. The clinic's waiting room was elegant but welcoming. Amelia filled out the form while Aaron observed the activity around them. It was strange to be there, strange to be part of this. He never accompanied Amelia to appointments when they were still together. He never worried about anything related to her health because he always assumed she would handle everything alone. And now, looking at the way she bit her lip while filling out the forms, he felt a deep regret. He should have been there for her before. Amelia Davis, the receptionist's voice called them. They stood up together. The doctor was a younger man than the first, but his expression was serious and confident. Amelia lay down on the examination table again, and Aaron felt the same tightness in his chest when the sound of the baby's heartbeat filled the room. The exam lasted longer than the previous one. The doctor examined everything attentively, measuring, comparing, noting down. When he finished, he looked at the two. Well, I reviewed the previous exams and conducted some of my own analyses. Aaron felt the tension from Amelia at his side. And then, doctor? She asked, her voice nearly trembling. The doctor smiled slightly. The narrowing of the aortic valve is still a possibility, but the new tests indicate it could be a mild case. This means that immediate surgery may not be necessary after birth. Amelia exhaled forcefully, as if she had been holding her breath the entire time. Aaron closed his eyes for a second, feeling intense relief. So he will be okay. We need to continue monitoring, but for now, the news is good. Amelia brought her hands to her face for a moment, and Aaron noticed she was quietly crying. Without thinking, he held her hand. Amelia didn't pull away, and in that moment, Aaron knew that little by little, he was breaking down the barrier she had erected between them. He just needed to keep trying. Amelia did not pull her hand away immediately. For a brief moment, Aaron felt the warmth of her skin against his, and in that small gesture, loaded with everything that could not be said in words, he knew that there was still something there. But then, as if realizing what she was doing, she slowly withdrew, quickly wiping away her tears. "Sorry," she said, letting out a short, humorless laugh. The doctor smiled understandingly. "It's normal to feel relieved, Amelia. Pregnancy is already a time of great emotions, and when there are medical concerns involved, everything intensifies." She nodded, still trying to regain her composure. Aaron kept his gaze fixed on her, noticing how overwhelmed Amelia was. Even after receiving good news, she didn't seem to relax completely, and that caused him a tightness in his chest. "So, doctor, what happens now?" Aaron asked, trying to focus on what really mattered. The doctor looked at him and then at Amelia. "We will continue to monitor the baby's development with frequent examinations. If there are any changes, we will know in time. But for now, I would recommend that you try to rest, Amelia. Stress also affects the baby." She let out a tired sigh. "Rest," she repeated, as if the word were a distant concept. Aaron noticed that. He noticed everything, the way she gripped the bag tightly, as if always on alert, the fatigue in her eyes, the weight she carried alone. And for the first time, he understood that the problem was not just the baby. Amelia did not trust him, because in their entire relationship, she never could truly count on him. And even now, with him trying to get closer, she was still preparing for the moment when he would disappear again. But he wouldn't. This time, he wouldn't. The consultation ended shortly after, and the two left the clinic together. Aaron offered to take Amelia back home, and, to his surprise, she accepted without arguing. In the car, the silence between them was less tense than before. Aaron glanced at Amelia out of the corner of his eye. She was staring out the window, distracted, her fingers lightly drumming on her belly. "Are you relieved?" he asked, breaking the silence. She took a moment to respond. "A little," she admitted. "But I'm still scared." Aaron nodded, understanding. "Me too." She looked at him, surprised. "You?" He let out a short laugh. "Of course, Amelia, this baby, he is my child. How could I not be scared?" Amelia quickly looked away, as if she didn't know how to handle that answer. Aaron seized the moment. "You don't have to carry all of this alone." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I've been carrying it alone for months." "Aaron, I know." He kept his gaze on the road, but his voice was firm. "But it doesn't have to be this way from now on." She didn't respond. She didn't say she believed in him, but she also didn't say she didn't. And for Aaron, that was already progress. When they arrived at the building where Amelia lived, Aaron parked in front of the entrance. She opened the door but hesitated before getting out. "Thank you for today," he looked at her. "I will be at all the other appointments." Amelia pressed her lips together, looking away. "We'll see." Aaron wanted to say something more, but he knew it wouldn't help. If there was one thing he needed to learn, it was that trust was built over time, and he was willing to wait. She got out of the car without looking back, but Aaron knew this wasn't over yet. That night, Aaron didn't go home immediately. Instead, he drove to a commercial building in the city center. At the top, a discreet sign indicated the name of the company. He entered the building and was greeted by a receptionist who smiled upon recognizing him. "Good evening, Mr. Aaron. Mr. Bernardo is already waiting for you." He nodded and followed down the hall to an elegant office. Inside, Bernardo, an experienced lawyer and longtime friend, stood waiting beside the desk. "I'm glad you came," Bernardo said, shaking his hand. "I imagine you have made a decision." Aaron took a deep breath before responding. "I want to ensure that Amelia and the baby have everything they need." "You want to set up a financial agreement?" "Not just that." Aaron sat down and crossed his hands on the table. "I want Amelia to have access to any necessary resources, housing, medical expenses, security, but I also want to know what my rights are as a father." Bernardo studied him for a moment before responding. "Does that mean you are considering fighting for custody?" Aaron hesitated. The idea still seemed distant but not impossible. "I don't want to take anything away from Amelia, but I want to make sure my child knows he can count on me." Bernardo smirked. "So you really have changed." Aaron didn't respond immediately. He just looked out the office window, observing the illuminated city. He didn't know if he had completely changed, but he knew that for the first time he was willing to try. And this time, not just for Amelia, but for the child he was about to meet. The following days were different. Amelia quickly realized this. Since the appointment with the specialist, Aaron Smith hadn't disappeared as she had expected. On the contrary, he was present in a way he never had been before. In the first few days, she found herself waiting for him to vanish, as he always did, that it was just a momentary impulse of guilt, a fleeting whim. But then, messages started to arrive. "How are you? Did you sleep well? Did you feel anything different today?" Simple questions, but questions he had never asked before. And no matter how much she tried to ignore it, no matter how much she wanted to keep her distance, Amelia felt something different inside her. She felt scared to believe, because if she believed and he disappointed her again, she didn't know if she would have the strength to endure. But Aaron Smith didn't give up. And that's when she noticed the true change. He didn't just talk. He acted. On a Friday night, after a tiring shift at the market, Amelia got home and found an envelope under the door. Her heart raced. For a second, she feared it was some bill, some overdue payment she had forgotten. But when she opened the envelope, she found something unexpected, a contract. At the bottom, Aaron Smith's signature, and along with it, a handwritten note. "I don't want you to worry about anything. The apartment is already paid for the next year. You don't have to accept, but I want you to know that if you need anything, I am here." Amelia felt a lump in her throat. Aaron Smith was paying her rent. She squeezed the paper between her fingers, not knowing what to feel. Part of her wanted to tear it up, throw it away, yell that she didn't need his help. But another part wanted to cry with relief. The next day, she showed up at his office. Aaron Smith was surprised to see her. "Amelia?" She walked in without waiting for an invitation and threw the contract on the table. "What is this?" Aaron Smith looked at the document and then at her. "I thought it was clear. I didn't ask for this." He took a deep breath. "I know, but you need it. I can manage." "Amelia, you're pregnant. You're standing all day at work. You're worried about exams, appointments, the baby." He looked at her seriously. "You don't have to carry all of this alone." She crossed her arms. "Is this guilt?" "No, it's responsibility." She held his gaze, trying to find any lie there, but she didn't find any. She sighed, exhausted. "I don't know if I can trust you, Aaron Smith." "I know, but I'm trying to change that." The silence that followed was heavy. Amelia picked up the contract again, looked at him once more, and left the office without saying anything else. Aaron Smith stood still, watching the closed door, knowing that the conversation wasn't over yet. But for the first time, he felt he was on the right path. Weeks passed, Amelia's belly grew, and with it something else grew as well. A new dynamic. Aaron Smith began to accompany her to all her appointments. He offered to pick her up from the market, and even when she refused, he would show up outside at the time he knew she left, saying he was around by coincidence. At first, Amelia grumbled, saying she didn't need it, that he was overdoing it. But she never stopped him from taking her home, and gradually the silences between the two began to be filled. Aaron Smith asked about the baby. Amelia responded. He made plans. She listened. And even though she didn't want to, she began to wait for him at the end of the workday. She started to get used to it, and it scared her. On a cold afternoon after another appointment, the two decided to have lunch together. It wasn't planned. The appointment ended quicker than expected, and Aaron Smith suggested eating something before taking her home. This time, Amelia accepted. Without hesitation, they chose a small, discreet restaurant. They talked about the baby, about names. Amelia joked that Aaron Smith had terrible taste in boys' names. He laughed, saying she was the one being too picky. And for a moment, everything felt normal, familiar. And when Amelia realized this, she felt a tightness in her chest. They were falling into a routine. And routine meant danger. Because it meant that Aaron Smith was getting too close, and she didn't know if she was ready for that. That night, Aaron Smith was in his penthouse when he received a message from Amelia. "Can you come here tomorrow? I need to talk." He felt his heart race. Something was different about that message. Lately, it was always him who took the initiative. Always him who reached out, but now it was she who was calling, and that could mean many things, but one thing he was sure of: their story was not over yet. Aaron Smith arrived at Amelia Davis's building the next morning, his heart beating faster than he would like to admit. He didn't know what to expect from that conversation. For weeks, he had been slowly building a bridge between them, showing, through actions, and not just words, that he was there to stay. But now, with that unexpected message, he felt that something was about to change. He knocked on the door and waited. When Amelia opened, he noticed there was something different about her. Her face was serious, but it wasn't anger. It was hesitation. "Come in." He entered, feeling the familiar smell of the small but cozy apartment. Aaron looked around, noticing details he had never noticed before. The books piled in the corner of the living room, the folded blanket on the sofa, the little baby clothes already organized on a chair. Reality hit harder. The baby was coming, and Amelia's life was already completely adapted to this new reality. His was not. He still lived in an empty penthouse, worked more hours than he should have, and now wondered if he had ever really been ready for this. "Sit down," Amelia said, pulling him out of his thoughts. He obeyed, sitting on the sofa. She stood for a moment, as if organizing her words before speaking, and then she took a deep breath. "Aaron, I want to be fair with you." His chest tightened. Nothing good started with that phrase. "Okay," he said, trying to stay calm. Amelia sat in the armchair opposite him, her hands resting on her already quite pronounced belly. "You have been different." She looked him in the eyes. "You have been there. You have done things I never imagined you would do." He remained silent, waiting. "And I recognize that, truly." Aaron felt the tension in his shoulders increase. "But..." She looked down for a moment before meeting his gaze again. "But I'm afraid." The answer caught Aaron off guard. Afraid of what? Amelia bit her lip as if trying to hold back her emotions. "Afraid that this is temporary." He frowned. "Temporary?" "Yes." She sighed, looking exhausted. "I've seen this movie before, Aaron. I saw you promise things and then disappear. Prioritize other things. And I can't take that risk again." Aaron ran his hand through his hair, trying to find the right words. "I understand that you have doubts." "These aren't doubts, Aaron," she interrupted him. "They are scars." He closed his eyes for a second. That hurt more than anything, more than the divorce, more than her coldness at the beginning, because now he knew it wasn't just about hurt, it was about fear, and fear was much harder to overcome. "I don't know what I can do to prove to you that I'm here to stay." He finally spoke. "But tell me, Amelia, what do you need me to do?" She was silent for a long moment, then her expression changed, something between vulnerability and a need for protection. "I need you to be here, every day." Aaron swallowed hard. "I will be. Not out of obligation, not out of guilt, but because you want to." He nodded, his voice firm as he replied, "I want to." Amelia sighed, averting her gaze. "Then prove it." Those words came back like a ghost. He had heard that before, but this time he knew he couldn't just make grand gestures. It wasn't about paying the rent. It wasn't about ensuring doctor visits. It was about being there, in the details. And that was exactly what he would do. In the following days, Aaron made his presence known in a different way. Not with grand gestures, but with the little ones. He showed up at the market at the end of her shift without warning. He brought a hot coffee and said he was passing by. He sent messages asking if she needed anything. He bought fruits and left them at the front desk, knowing she liked certain things during pregnancy. And Amelia noticed. She said nothing, but she noticed. And gradually, Aaron began to notice changes in her as well. The way she relaxed when he was around, the way she started to reply to his messages faster, the way she, without realizing it, began to trust again. It was on a cold night that everything changed. Amelia was at home when she felt a strong pain in her belly. At first she ignored it, but then another came, and another. Her heart raced. The baby wasn't due yet. Something was wrong. Without thinking twice, she grabbed her phone and, not knowing why, called the only person she knew would answer. Aaron. He answered on the first ring. "Amelia?" His voice sounded alert, as if he sensed something was wrong. Her breath was shaky. "I need help." She heard the sound of the car key in the background. "I'm on my way." The call dropped, and in less than 15 minutes, Aaron was at the building's door. Amelia was already waiting outside, holding her belly with one hand and a small bag with the other. Her eyes were filled with fear. "The pains..." She swallowed hard. "They are coming fast." Aaron grabbed the bag and helped her into the car without hesitation. "Breathe. It will be all right." But while driving to the hospital, he felt a fear growing inside him. What if something happened to the baby? What if something happened to Amelia? That thought was unbearable. He gripped the steering wheel, accelerating. He couldn't fail now, not this time. Because, for the first time, he knew exactly where he wanted to be. And it was there, with her, with their child. The rain began to fall when Aaron Smith parked in front of the hospital. He jumped out of the car and ran to Amelia Davis's side, quickly opening the door. "Come on, I'll help you." She nodded, breathing deeply as he held her firmly. Her face was pale, her brow furrowed in pain. Aaron felt his chest tighten. He couldn't bear to see her that way. The two rushed into the hospital, where nurses soon came to meet them. "What's the situation?" asked one of the nurses as she helped Amelia get settled in a wheelchair. "She's been in severe pain for a few hours," Aaron replied, trying to keep calm. Amelia looked at him, her eyes full of fear. "Aaron, if something happens..." He held her hand. "Nothing will happen, I promise." She stared at him for a moment before being taken down the corridors. Aaron wanted to follow her, but a nurse stopped him. "We need to prepare her first, sir. Please wait." Those words were a blow. He stood there, frozen in the middle of the hospital, feeling useless. His heart raced so fast, it felt like it would explode. And then, as a reflex, he grabbed his phone and called the only person who wanted to know this as much as he did, his mother. Aaron. He took a deep breath, trying to contain the tremor in his voice. "The baby is coming." There was a brief silence. "I'm on my way." Time passed slowly. Aaron paced back and forth, looking at the door through which Amelia had disappeared every minute. He wanted to be there. He needed to be there. Then a nurse appeared. "Mr. Aaron?" He turned quickly. "Yes, how is she?" The woman smiled slightly. "Her water hasn't broken yet, but the doctors have decided to induce labor. The baby is stable, but we need to monitor." Aaron nodded. "Can I stay with her?" The nurse nodded. "You can go in." He didn't wait for her to repeat it. Amelia was lying on the stretcher with tubes connected to her arm. Her face was sweaty and she looked exhausted. But when she saw him, relief shone in her eyes. Aaron held her hand without thinking. "I'm here." She squeezed his hand tightly when another contraction came. "I hate you right now," she muttered through clenched teeth. He chuckled softly. "I know, but you can hate me as much as you want, as long as you hold my hand until the end." She let out a tired laugh, but she didn't let go of his hand. Hours passed in a blur. Amelia's pain increased, doctors gave instructions, and Aaron stayed by her side the whole time. And then the moment arrived. "Let's go, Amelia," said the doctor. "You can do it." She screamed, squeezing Aaron's hand even more, and then a sound filled the room, a cry. The first cry of the baby. The sound made Aaron lose his breath. He couldn't move for a moment. He just looked as the doctors held the little life that had just entered the world. A nurse brought the baby to Amelia and placed it on her chest. "It's a boy," the doctor announced with a smile. Amelia cried silently, caressing her son's little face. Aaron felt his heart tighten in a new way. It was real. He was a father. The nurse approached. "Do you want to hold him?" Amelia looked at him, still breathless. "Aaron." He nodded, feeling his throat tighten. With trembling hands, he held his son in his arms for the first time. The baby was so small, so fragile, and so his. A wave of emotion hit him hard. He held his son against his chest and felt tears fall uncontrollably. "Hi, little one," he whispered, his voice choked. "I am your father." The baby stirred slightly, making a soft sound, and at that moment Aaron knew he would never be the same. Hours later, his mother arrived at the hospital. She entered the room, and upon seeing Aaron holding the baby, her eyes filled with tears. "He's beautiful," she said quietly. Aaron smiled. "His name is Miguel." Amelia looked at him surprised. They had never officially decided on the name. "Miguel?" He nodded. "It means, who is like God." He fought to get here. And now he's in the arms of the strongest mother I know. Amelia smiled, moved. Miguel, she repeated, testing the name. And then, as if something had broken inside her, Amelia looked at Aaron differently. She saw that he had changed, that he was no longer the same man who left her alone, that he was really there, and that maybe, just maybe, she could trust him again. Days passed, and Amelia left the hospital with Miguel in her arms. Aaron was beside her, holding the bag and helping her walk slowly. When they reached the building door, he hesitated. "Can I come up with you?" Amelia took a deep breath. "Yes." He smiled, relieved. And at that moment, he knew the first step had been taken. There were no exaggerated promises. There were no dramatic declarations. Just the certainty that, for the first time, they were ready to try. Together, for their son. For what could still be, and this time Aaron knew he would not fail, and thus ends this touching journey of love, regret, and redemption. Aaron and Amelia showed us that it is never too late to change, to fight for those we love, and to rebuild the bonds we thought were lost. And you? Have you ever lived a similar story? What would you do in Aaron or Amelia's place? We want to hear your opinion.